You were created to create.
And now that you're here, the only way to unlock and unfold that is you find ways to continue to create.
When you stop learning, you stop growing. Your biggest purpose is how are you going to crack the code on you?
This week, we're on the 2, okay? If you look at that 2, that Allergic II Average, okay, even if you want to use my shirt here, that 2 has always been there, okay? And that is meant to be Allergic II Average, but I want to let you in on kind of a hidden gem, a hidden secret about that Roman numeral 2 right there that you see, okay? So that 2 is, yes, to be allergic, what you would consider using that TO2 average, allergic to average. But that 2, and the reason why we use the Roman numeral 2 is because it really represents the 2 in you, which I'm excited to get into. And that also is what makes you allergic to the average. This is what actually allows you to eliminate the average mentality, mindset, thoughts, belief systems, habits, you name it, to allow you to grow into the allergic to average individual. So what are those 2 things, right? Maybe you're asking me. And it's really, when we look at in our world today, the billions and billions of people, I think we were last around 7.9 billion people on Earth, okay? So almost 8 billion people. These 2 things are what make you just like them, okay? What make you a human. But it's also these 2 things that you have are also what make you and every other human being uniquely different to your design, the way you are, experiencing life, the way people experience life with you, yada, yada. So those 2 things, as I continue in that, I want to show you if you can see my tattoo here. Okay. It's also a part of one of our lovely decorations in the studio. Okay. So the 2 in you is the heart and the mind of you. Okay. The human heart, the human mind. So I'm going to go through that. I want to really just let you in on the deeper truth and in the deeper importance of the 2 in you. Okay. So there's some layers here. So we're going to get through it. So again, I'm your host, Matt Lee. Thank you for being here. And I want to continue to just allow you to see the deeper levels and understandings of these things. Okay. Like we've been doing every single week up until this point. So, in just where to start. Okay. So when I look back at my journey and, I had just started my first business at, 20 years old. I did that for a little while. And then at a certain point, doing that for almost 2.5 years, doing pretty good at this business, getting some early success, recognition, a little bit of money, titles, yada, yada. So without realizing how or that it was going to happen, fast forward 2.5 years into it. And when I looked around, I really had found myself in a place at that point in my life where I really didn't recognize who I was. I really didn't recognize how I had gotten into this position of letting pride and ego kind of run and take over and lead my life. Just letting things like money get to my head, distractions, alcohol. At that point, I had never, going through high school and growing up, I never drank or partied. That wasn't who I was. But now I was old enough and I could afford it. And so, anyways, I learned really quickly the importance, or it didn't feel quickly, but I learned early in life the importance of the 2 in you, the heart and the mind. So, one of the big, I don't know, it felt like mentors that I never actually met is a lady. She's an entrepreneur, and her name's Danny Johnson. Okay. So a little background about her. And I want to just add real quick. This was somebody that I learned so much from, like at the very beginning of my personal growth, personal development journey. Danny Johnson and her material, her resources, her books, you name it. Check her out. Check out her books, her coaching, all that. It's amazing. But she went from being homeless at 21. Okay, she was homeless. She had already, done certain work and jobs, and she was trying to get out of this place of just surviving, right? Like we can find ourselves in certain seasons. So after being homeless at 21, she then starts building, multiple companies, and has taught, that. Well, so there's this statistic that she utilizes in some of her talks and some of her teachings. So I want to share that with you, because this really, 14, 15 years ago for me, these were some of the first things that I started hearing that got me to think about, what would eventually be allergic to average. What makes us allergic to the average different than the average? And so her quote goes like this: 98% of the population will be dead or dead broke by the age of 65. Only 2% will succeed. Okay, so I want you to hear that again. Okay, I'm gonna repeat it one more time. So 98% of the entire population will end up dead or dead broke by the age of 65, if not before then. That being said, only 2 will succeed. Only 2% of the population will actually succeed in life. Okay, so think about that, and let me explain a little bit more. Okay, because if you think about it, just let's say 98 people out of 100 that okay, will fall into that 98% category. 98 out of 100 people, only 2 people out of those 100, the other 98, okay, will not succeed. They'll be dead or dead broke. Now, to the core of her teaching, Danny Johnson, she isn't talking about money, okay? She is talking about a way of thinking, okay? So, a little bit more context. 98%, they kind of just react to life, okay? 2% are more focused on how do you direct life. 98% of the population, wait. 2%, find a way to act, even if it's not pretty, even if they're scared, it's uncomfortable, okay? So this has nothing to do with, where you're starting at. It has everything to do with the way of thinking that you decide to build on. Like as you're taking a starting point, what feels like nothing, okay, and you decide to build upon that, as you start to build, that's really a mindset that allows you to keep moving towards something that could be. Okay, but 98% of people, they do the exact opposite. Okay, they wait for circumstances to get a little bit better. They wait for money to come in a little bit more. They wait for somebody's approval or affirmation or validation. Like this is the difference in a way of thinking. That's why Allergic to Average, one of our very first slogans, phrases that we used was a new way of thinking. A new way of thinking, okay? So I wanted to just lay out some more things because, from psychology to spirituality to science to, just across what is all the evidence that I could bring you that echo the same thing across these different areas, right? So there's a couple of different studies that I had found, and there's a psychologist, Julian Rutert, right? He studied what is called the locus of focus. I'm sorry, I wish it was called that. That's what I kept calling it because it rhymes. But the locus of control, okay? Your locus. So people that who believe that their choices are shaped by their outcomes, so their internal locus, consistently achieve more than people who believe that life is just happening to them. So the 98% see life as really, I feel like something that's just, again, happening to them. It's just, you got to just kind of roll with it. And 2% of the population see life as something, that they're building. That's what the Allergic to Average see by the daily process, the things that they're taking on in that day. It's something that you're building, and every single day of your life, moment by moment, is moving you in a certain direction, right? So understanding the belief system, realizing that your life is being shaped by the choices that you're making internally, is actually what's conducting and allowing you to move and navigate in the areas and directions you want to go in life. But 98% of the people really that we see every day around you in society, on social media, maybe it's at your workplace, maybe it's in the schools, just believe that, oh, I just hope I have good luck in life. I hope life, it's just going to be hard. It's just going to suck, right? And so getting to this place where you realize that, hey, your ideas of your day and really that internal conversation. I'm going to talk about mental attitudes in just a bit. Oh, actually, no, that's next week's. But how much that will play into your mental attitude. So another psychologist, I think her last name was Duckworth. She studied grit. Okay, so this idea of what is grit, what does it take to conduct that, to carry it, to cultivate it, and she found that grit, this understanding of people that are going to continue to carry this work ethic, this grind with grit. And so she felt with grit, it is actually a better predictor of success than talent or IQ. Okay. So that being said, the 2% aren't smarter. So when I talk about the allergic to average, and that's why I always have got back to this place, because sometimes when I talk about being allergic to average, being the 2, sometimes people start to put in this category of like being better than everybody else. Or, sometimes people start thinking like, oh, you got to be smarter, right, to be that 2. And that's what I'm pointing out in this right now, that the 2% aren't smarter. They just don't quit. They find a way to keep going. They find a way to keep showing up, right? And so if you remember back and you watched step 7, when I covered, I was talking about the marshmallow experiment. Okay. The kid who if he could delay gratification and, not take the 1, then he would get more, right? That was the test. But if he took the 1 when he was there by himself, then that was what he got. And so when I looked back at that study too, another thing that I didn't get to share in week 7, it didn't make sense to, but now another thing is the kids that would delay gratification, and they studied and followed these young kids, outside of this experiment, they would actually flourish and decades later, years later, because they had learned this idea of what it means to say no right now, right? And how to delay gratification, how to actually put that off in order to have something bigger on the other side. So again, 98% of the population, 98% of people want to take the marshmallow now. And 2% really are waiting for the harvest. They'll wait and invest in delay gratification, delay the now, the quick win, for something even more fulfilling and actually worth it at the end. Okay. So from the studies, everything like that I could find to use as evidence to convince you of the 2 in you and the 2% way of thinking, the 2% mindset, is for you to really see that this is not genetics. This isn't something that you can just easily dismiss yourself or disqualify yourself out of because you weren't born with a certain type of genetic or brains or certain type of talent or gift. Every single trait, okay, that we're talking about is learnable. It's a skill you build. So you've actually, and that's one thing that I love about the A16 Basics is you've been building a lot of these traits, and what I'm talking about, the 2 in you, the heart and the mind, the 2% way of thinking, all the way up until this point through the A16 Basics. Okay, we've been building it this whole series. So I want to continue on the actual heart and mind, the physical form of what it is, the mechanics it plays, but also what does that actually unlock? What does that actually represent in life for us? Not just the organ. If we're talking about the organ of the heart and then the brain, okay, that's there. 8 billion people have that. They have to, okay? Different conditions, different things, right? But at the end of the day, when we're not talking about the physical organs, but we're talking about that many people, every single one of these, let's say almost 8 billion people that exist out there, to the core, we all want, I don't know. I mean, we could say it in different words. We could explain it differently, but it's the same thing to the core, okay? And that is really to be loved. I think every human being would agree and say they want to be valued in some way and really just accepted, appreciated. Every single part. It doesn't matter what part of the planet they're from. It doesn't matter what culture. It doesn't matter what language. It doesn't matter, what God they serve. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be valued. And I understand that we have, what we could call and agree is what seems like some evil people that they don't believe in. I'm talking about the majority of our human race. Okay. So what makes us the same, and what makes us each completely unique and different, like I was opening with in the beginning, right? It's these two organs. It's the heart and the mind. Okay. So it just fascinates me because you have to have those two things to be human, a heart and a mind. And those two things alone, just that combination and the quality of that is what sets us so uniquely apart, but makes us all the same as humans. Okay. So when you hold your hand to your head and you just imagine this brain, okay, research has shown us now, and it's been able to really get us to seeing the brilliance, really, how extraordinary the mind is. Okay, 86 billion neurons, described by scientists as the brain is like one of the. It is the most complex structure in the known universe. Okay, this is your brain. This is the mind at work, right? 86 billion neurons. And scientists call this the most complex structure in the known universe. Okay. So in this mind, this beautiful machine, tool, whatever we want to call it. Oh my gosh. Dude, this is where your logic lives, right? This is where your knowledge is built. In that brain of yours, in that mind that you carry, your decisions get made, right? I love speaking of when we talk about scripture and what scripture says in Psalms 139 verse 14, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And that fearfully and wonderfully made, there's so many different ways we could break that down, but that's what comes to mind whenever I think about the incredible, brilliant machine inside your head and how it was designed. So then when we think about, okay, so we're talking about the brain, we're talking about the mind. Okay, let's talk about right here inside of our chest. If you were to put your hand over, please do that with me. And just maybe you can feel that beat. Maybe it's going faster, maybe it's going slower, I don't know. But when you look at it, what was it in 1990? Who was this? Oh, Dr. Andrew Armour, I think it was. Yes. Discovered that the heart has its own nervous system. About 40,000 neurons. Okay. So researchers call it the heart's little brain. Okay. Isn't that crazy? So within the heart, we know what it does as far as pumping blood, the physical organ, its responsibilities, what it does, its jobs. But when we actually look at research, 40,000 neurons that exist within your heart, okay, and it's referred to, researchers literally call it your heart's little brain. Okay, so within your heart, this is where love, this is where passion, this is where things like purpose and gratitude are unlocked, right? So it's not just this poetic, cute, like, oh, I love you with all my heart. That actually means something. It comes from a literal, physical, active organ that produces these vibrations, these frequencies out. If you remember, I can't remember exactly what week, but I shared this scripture, which was Proverbs 4:23. And that's when I was talking about above all else, right? When scripture says above all else, right? That's a big deal. So above all else, guard your heart, for everything that you do flows from it, right? So it's reminding us, scripture, even the power and the importance of protect and guide. Everything that you do, all the love, all the passion, all the purpose that should be, it comes from your heart. You have to protect that. So I'll explain a little bit more. Maybe what does that look like when it comes to guarding it, protecting it, right? Your heart, your mind. So on to my next point. In this, here's the truth that this whole chapter has been building to. Okay, this whole step number 9, the 2 in you. Okay, and I want you to realize that you will not unlock your mind. You will not unlock, your thoughts. We talked about, from your mind, knowledge, wisdom. Your decisions are made. Your logic is formed, right? Until you actually find these ways, like the A16 being I should say an example of it. But when we're talking about your mind, you can't unlock that next level. You can't get to the higher level of its actual potential, your potential, until you invest in it, until you find ways to protect your mind, right? And until you find other ways that challenge and allow you to develop your mind. And the other one that I'll add to that most people don't talk about is you find ways to also heal your mind. Okay? Things like trauma, yes, things like, heart wounds, insecurities, but you going through life, just like you fall at times in your life as a kid, maybe it was playing, maybe it was on a bike, maybe it was a tree, maybe it was, just you slid on accident inside the hallway at home and you fell and bruised your knee. There's things that happen, and as a part of life, we need to work and find a way to heal through it. But we forget about that when it comes to our heart and mind. And there's a lot of what looks like mad or pissed off or angry people in our world. I mean, they're right next to you on the freeway. They're at work with you. I mean, we see them all the time. But really, at the core of that, what makes them so angry, so bitter, so ugly to be around is they haven't found a way to heal. They need some more healing, and it's a necessary part. We all need it. But when we don't investigate into what could this healing look like, what do I need to do to bring some kind of peace or forgiveness to myself, to others? How do I let this go, right? Then our heart and our mind becomes hardened. It becomes angry. It becomes bitter. It becomes upset. Okay, so this is the importance of it, and this is, really what allows us to stay free, flowing in this gift of life, in seeing and having and being able to walk through the contrast of it. And so, the same thing, like I was just explaining about your mind, it's the same with your heart. You can't unlock the freedom and the joy in the higher levels of what love and purpose and gratitude are really have for you until you do the exact same thing. You find ways to protect your heart, to invest in your heart, to develop your heart, to heal your heart. Okay. So it's critical because for some reason, a lot of times we wait till a breakdown before we want to really find, okay, what healing do I need? What should I be doing? How can I get some help? But this should be a basic that we come back to, sometimes even daily, right? But if not, at least once a month where we're checking in and we're evaluating our mind, we're evaluating the thoughts, we're evaluating the knowledge we're carrying, we're evaluating our belief systems about ourselves. And same thing with our heart. We're finding ways to develop it. We're finding ways to heal it. We're finding ways to protect it. So, if not, it's again, It's so obvious because when the mind and the heart individually or as a pair are left alone, both drift naturally towards disorder. Okay? So your mind and your heart, when you don't tend to it, when you don't protect it, when you don't develop it, okay? You just kind of leave it in default. Both of those things, your heart and mind will drift towards disorder. And mine that is never fed, it's never challenged, it's never built, is going to be stagnant, right? A heart that never is protected starts to get hardened, starts to get angry. It's in Mark 12:30. Okay, it says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength." So that heart, that soul, that mind, the strength, right? All of it, as much as you can. This should be your daily almost dedication to try to get to. How can I give you all my heart, Lord, all my soul, all of my mind, all my strength? So the average wants to try to give like fragmented or just maybe integrate parts of their heart, But no, it needs to, the quality of your life is a direct reflection, the more and more you look at it, of how well you are investing in both your heart and your mind. Okay. The quality of your life is a direct reflection. Are you hearing me? Of how well you are investing in your heart and your mind. Okay. So, excuse me. I want to bring it to an end and kind of give you some final thoughts. Because I think the last thing when it comes to the heart and the mind, and the development and the process with it, I think a lot of times we think about when we go through the hard, the ugly, the struggles, the rejections, when life, it will drop kick you in the face at times. Everybody is going to face hardship. And so it's not an optional thing. It's not like, well, if you want to, you can, you'll get paid more. No, you're going to, right? Everything though that we go through, again, the 2% mindset, an allergic to average way of thinking allows you to see that your mind is getting built through the pain, through the struggles, right? As you keep preparing for it, as you journey through, as you start to shape and command, right? James, what is it? James chapter 1, 2-4. Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds. Why would it say this? Because the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Okay. So the obstacle isn't the interruption to your purpose, to your gift to this world. Like that's not what it's taking you out of it. It's actually it's the proving ground. It's what allows you to even trust yourself when you get to that next level, when you get to that higher level. When the temptations come, whenever the distractions start coming, all of the journey, the obstacles, the struggles to get you there was actually equipping you and preparing you. It was testing your faith and allowing you to become more capable, stronger, more perseverant. And so, the 2% mindset, that allergic to average way of thinking is, they aren't people that have never faced hardships. They don't have struggles. That's not what the 2%ers are. No. I mean, at the end of the day, these are people, the 2%ers that you see around you, the 2% way of thinking. How do you identify that? These are people whose hearts and minds they found a way to prepare for the ugly days. They've partnered with gratitude and made it such a normal thing that on the bad days, gratitude is actually there to help them stay fulfilled, stay equipped, right? It's that invisible work. It's the things that we're covering in the A16 Basics, right? Before anybody ever told them, before the crisis ever hit. That's why that consistency to your commitment to continue to get out of this default way of of being, right? The heart and the mind of you growing, those things is the absolute life changer for every single one of us. So I just wanted to take it back to, when I started in the beginning, guys, this was, again, something for me that was a painful part of my journey in not understanding at one time. I had what felt like the house, the cars, the money, the recognition, attention from ladies, the freedom to do whatever I wanted. But I didn't realize how much I still needed to train and develop and protect and also heal the heart that I had at that moment in that season and the mind that I was carrying. And at the end of the day, going back to the importance of those two things is really what allowed me to kind of, get in this position of what felt like saving my life and not letting it become just another average one. And so I'm speaking and sharing this with somebody who maybe for you, you have this desire or this belief or this thought that maybe there is something that is not just average, about me. Maybe I am allergic to the average. Maybe there is something incredible I can do. I just don't know what. I don't know how to believe that. Or maybe you do, but you're not fully actually, doing what you can to develop, protect, to heal the heart and the mind that you carry. Okay. This is your reminder. This is your permission that whatever you could or needs to be done when it comes to investing in your heart, okay? So that love, the passion, the purpose, these things like gratitude, like those things are unlocked by the quality of the heart that you carry. Okay? When it comes to your mind, your thoughts, of course, we know that, but your decisions, your knowledge, the wisdom you carry, your perspectives, your ideas. If you want to have a sound mind, you have to protect the sound that comes to your mind. What does that mean? Protect it, right? What you're watching, what you're listening to, who you're listening to. And so in saying that, this is actually these two things, the heart and the mind of you, is what allows you to actually continue to grow and move more and more into the allergic to average individual you were designed and created to be, or slowly forgotten and shifted off to the side with the 98% because you fell for the lies and the deception that you were nothing special, you were just average, you were just ordinary. Nothing about you was beautiful, intelligent, or extraordinary. That is also an option. But in my life and what I've experienced, this is something that is real, is true, and it's available for every single one of us. So as I bring it to an end of the two in you, as we finish on step 9 of the A16 Basics, I wanted that to just be a reminder of pick one of those things, your heart, your mind, and find one thing this week, one way, one strategy, one practice, one simple thing that would allow you to make an investment. And sometimes just allowing yourself to find some healing or, do some meditational work is the investment. It's what allowing you to invest in the quality of your mind and your heart. So just find one thing designated and directed towards the heart that you carry or the mind that you carry. And I encourage you, invest it, protect it, develop it, right? Or heal it. But do one of those, and I promise you would never feel like you wasted your time doing this. You'd never regret it. So I love and appreciate you guys, as I always do, and their time. Thanks for rocking with me on another step of the A16 Basics. Again, I'm your host, Matt Lee. I'll see you guys on the next one. Next week, we are in step 10, the first A in average. And man, we got some more. We're going to continue to lay them out. So see you next week. Love you guys. Happy Tuesday.